Have you ever tried implementing law of attraction techniques and have found them difficult to implement, or you did not get much results at all? Or you have thought about maybe this law of attraction things work, but why is it that other people are able to do it, or some people are able to get results but not me? And what is this law of assumption, which is now gaining more popularity, and what is difference between law of assumption versus law of attraction? So I will explain all these topics in this video with clarity, with my own personal experience sharing in this video. My name is Rohit and I've been studying about law of attraction manifestation for years now. And my goal with this channel is to simplify manifesting so anyone can manifest with using the power of imagination. So a very simple aspect to manifesting, it goes back to the power of imagination. Everything is awareness, and from this awareness we use the power of imagination to bring something, as people say, bring something into this 3D reality. But I will go back to my journey so I can give you the full picture is how I moved away from traditional law of attraction techniques to more of law of assumption techniques. And not to say law of attraction techniques do not work, but they were the most inconsistent techniques I have experienced in my life, and I will demonstrate it via my personal story. So it was back in 2011 and 2011, and I actually wanted to travel. So I was working for a very big telecommunication company, and they have a bunch of projects in Europe, in South America. They had lots of projects in Africa as well. So I wanted to travel. I wanted to, explore the world, be on these flights and have this international travel. So when I manifested this job, just before that, my mom was big into the book The Secret. She bought the DVD, she had the book, she was reading about it. She gave me the book a couple of times. First time I ignored it. I'm like, what is this nonsense law of attraction stuff? It doesn't work. And then it got me a little bit curious, and then eventually I watched the whole DVD when I was at home, and I was like, that's very interesting. If you can create that, and I have seen that happen in my life. I've seen some people who were not as, you would quote unquote call, worthy, or not as capable, not as intelligent, or not as smart, but just got the things they wanted. And some people would say they are lucky, or they had somebody supporting them, but I was like, I'm not really sure. I want to get to the bottom of this. So I started reading Rhonda Byrne's book. I read the book The Secret. Then eventually I bought the book The Magic, and I started implementing it, right? So I started implementing the techniques, like feeling in the high vibration state. So a couple of exercises which I did is like, if I'm traveling to a destination and let's say I'm in the car, I'm in the passenger seat. So I would look at the shops around me and I would imagine having wealth and making the transaction. I was imagine, giving them money and getting something. So that kind of made me feel good inside. It made me feel like I'm wealthy. And couple of times actually things ended up happening when somebody gave me the money, or I got money and I went and actually did the transaction. But most of the time it wasn't even for me. I was buying it for someone else. But it was a big transaction, like buying a computer, buying a laptop, or buying a microwave or something like that, more expensive stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm getting some results, but I'm not getting the results which I want. I'm making those transactions, and I feel sort of wealthy, but I'm not able to become wealthy. I'm not able to do that. So I did it for a while. After that, I started reading about different books, and I kind of stopped doing those exercises. Then what ended up happening is, in my company, they had a lot of projects in Africa, and everyone wanted to go to South Africa because it's one of the most popular destinations, and they had so many projects in Africa. So when I was new to that company, and most people were like, there is no way you are going to get a chance to go to South Africa. I was just joking with one of my friends. I'm like, it's great, we get to travel, we get to visit different cities. I'm hoping to see more of Africa. It will be great to see South Africa. And he just chuckled. He said, dude, good luck with that, because everyone wants to go to South Africa. All the seniors want to go to South Africa. What makes you think that you will get a chance? And we were like bantering, but in a way he told me that it's extremely unlikely for that to happen. Okay, so I kind of mentally accepted that fact, and I'm like, okay. But then I was like, then I went back and read a few pages from Rhonda Byrne's book, and I was like, no, if this thing works, let me experiment with this and let me see if that happens. So then I started visualizing and doing this state in which now it's very difficult if you have never traveled, how to be in that state where you are a traveler, where you're an international traveler, you travel a lot, right? You might have experienced good health. So you know what good health feels like. You might have been around wealthy people, or you might have seen wealth. You might have been wealthy, or a bunch of time, or you might be invited to an event where other people are wealthy. So you might have an inkling of feeling of knowing what wealth is. But for travel, I've never traveled. My dad had traveled a bit, but most people in my family hadn't traveled. Most of my friends hadn't traveled. And I was looking at these vlogs and they kind of feel disconnected. So I was not really able to get into the state where I'm this person who gets to travel and all that, right? So I was having a really hard time getting around that, staying in that vibration of traveling. Really hard time, but I still used some affirmations. So the very first project I got invited for was for Burkina Faso. And my manager said, are you okay? Do you want to go there? And I was like, okay, maybe this is a stepping stone. So I was like, I'm not going to resist. I'm going to just say yes. I said yes. And I was excited. Okay, now I'm going to get to travel. Now I'll be on a plane. Even though Burkina Faso is not a very developed country, at least I will get to go and visit. And this is maybe one of the first countries I would get to visit. And eventually other countries I will get to visit down the line. Also, I'll gain some project experience and then I can go to other places. But that was the whole idea. So what ended up happening is I did this, staying in this certain vibration. I tried very hard to do it 2, 3, 4 times a day, and sometimes even in office I would try to do it and people would be like, are you dozing off? What are you doing? Or I would go into the meeting room, or I would just disappear into the loo and I will try to do it. And it still just wasn't happening. I felt this kind of weird resistance and it felt very, very forced. And I was having a very hard time with it. So eventually I was doing some research on internet and I stumbled upon Reddit. And Reddit, somebody mentioned this technique from Neville Goddard where he visualized himself being in Barbados as if he's walking on the streets of Barbados, and he ended up in Barbados even if he didn't have the money, he didn't have the means. And that's what this teacher taught him. I was like, whoa. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do this for Burkina Faso. He said, no, what is your end goal? You want to be in South Africa? I said, yeah. So imagine that. I'm like, oh, it's not very unlikely. It's not going to happen. Anyway, I did it. I watched a bunch of videos. That time YouTube was just new. There were some videos of South Africa. So I still got some HD pictures and I imagined myself being there. I imagined myself being on the beach and feeling the breeze, and I'm looking over the tabletop mountain, that beautiful scene. I will put the scene right here. You can have a look. I imagined being there, doing that, and getting those things done. Now, the another challenge, what ended up happening was like I was still having a hard time. But thankfully, we had YouTube and stuff, so I could hear the sounds. There were people on the beach where the sound is like. I could bring in my senses, and I did that for a while. And what happened is there was like a split second. I felt like I was transported or teleported to South Africa just for a split second, and I tried to hold on to that feeling. It just didn't happen. I couldn't replicate the feeling. And then I went on the forum and I told people, I visualized and I felt like I was in South Africa, but now I'm trying to do it again. I'm not able to replicate it. And people said, it is done. You don't need to do it over and over again. But I told but in law of attraction techniques, you have to keep doing it. You have to stay in that state. It's like, no, just trust me. If you feel like that, maybe do it for 1 or 2 more days and then just drop it. And I was still reluctant, so I did it for a few days and I dropped it. And I was like, okay, there's no way this South Africa thing is not going to happen. What ended up happening is the Burkina Faso project also kind of got delayed. And then I didn't end up going there either when I said yes. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to get any projects or what. And now this is what ended up happening. Like, then my manager called me one day and he said, by the way, we have a project in Swaziland. And would you be interested? So first he asked other couple of seniors. The first thing people do is they hear about the country. They go on Google, they do the research and they see, okay, Swaziland. Oh, Swaziland is, not very developed and it's notorious for having one of the highest HIV rates in the world. And people were like, okay, this is not a very developed country. And most people said no. And the project was in October, right? It was going to start in October. And in October and November, we have the biggest festivals in India, which is Diwali and Durga Puja, which is very big festival. And most people don't want to leave the country during that time. So I imagined that. I didn't imagine that. When my manager called, I was surprised that why did he call me, not the other seniors. But then I was like, yeah, I'm absolutely okay. I will go for Swaziland. And then I did some research. And I just Googled it and I was like, oh, should I go there? But I'm like, okay, it doesn't matter if it has highest HIV rate or whatnot. It doesn't matter to me. Okay, I'm going there to work. I'm going there to travel, experience it. That's what I'm going to do. So I said yes. And then So the whole project's head was a South African guy, and he called me and he said, by the way, India does not have a Swaziland embassy, so what you have to do is you have to come to the South Africa first, and here we will process your visa, and during those 1 or 2 weeks you are in South Africa, we will also train you, we'll also teach you some new things where you can learn about these things, and then when you go back to Swaziland, when you go to Swaziland, you have the training that is required for you to do. And I was like, okay, that was quite amazing, and I was taken aback, and I actually didn't tell most people that I'm going to South Africa. I only told one of my friends that I have to first go to South Africa and then I will go to Swaziland. So that's where I came through. And then when this whole thing was unfolding, I flew to Delhi, then I flew to Dubai, and from Dubai the flight went straight to Johannesburg. It was sort of unreal, but I did not try to stay in this high vibration state throughout. I did not try to force myself to stay in that state. But even then, when people said it's unlikely, even then when I was not staying in high vibration, I was able to manifest. I was able to end up going to South Africa. So as you can see, I slightly drifted away from law of attraction, and I tried law of assumption techniques, visualizing and being there and assuming I'm already there, not just being in this traveling state, of state of the traveler or state of person who travels a lot or successful in traveling. I imagined myself being there in the end, experiencing it in my imagination, and then I let it go. I did not try to stay in that state again. I did not try to visualize again and again over again. When I felt the feeling of saturation, I did it a few more times, and I dropped it, and the bridge of incidents happened, and I ended up in South Africa. And a lot of people were surprised, like, how did I, a brand new person, ended up in going to South Africa? And it's like, you are lucky. That's what people said. You are just lucky that you got to experience it. And then I went there again a couple more times, and I got to experience Cape Town as well. So that's all I wanted to share, how you can see how I drifted away from law of attraction to law of assumption, and by using the power of visualization, I was able to create that end. And that's what I want for you, and that is my hope and my goal, that by using these techniques, you will be able to create the dreams, the things which you want to manifest in your life, and create your dream life. So until then, I wish you great success on your manifesting journey. I will see you in the next video. Take care. And if you have any other questions or comments related to this, any experiences, please post them in the comment section below. I would love to read your thoughts. See you then. Take care.